welcome back to Thrifty in OKC. I wanted to do a little short video for you guys today to talk a little bit about part-time reselling and some things that I've kind of learned over the years. So I have been a part-time reseller for almost 20 years now. I started selling on eBay a really long time ago. I have pretty much always held a full-time job while I have been a reseller, and I have loved the extra money. If you've watched my other videos, we have become debt-free. I have used my reselling money and paid off our house, all our cars, everything, which has been awesome. And it has so much more flexibility than trying to get a part-time job at like the mall or somewhere, because when you don't have time to do it, you don't have to do it. It's not like you got to cover a shift from 5 to 9 at your local department store. So I have loved being a part-time reseller, but it is a little bit different from being a full-time reseller. And I see a lot of YouTube videos for folks who sell full-time. And while a lot of the things are the same, I wanted to share with you some of the things that I think are a little bit different when you resell part-time. And a lot of it really has to do with what you're selling. So obviously you are wanting to make money, but one thing I would suggest, and I'm not always good at, but I think it's a good idea, is to be cognizant of the time that you have. So to me, it's better for me to buy fewer items with a higher cost, because I don't have the same amount of time to list that a full-time reseller has. So whereas they might be able to buy 10 things that they can make $10 profit on because they can list 20 or 30 things in a day, I'm doing good if I can list 4 or 5 things in a day. So I really need to, in order to make $100, I try to find things that I can make at least $25 to $30 on. Doesn't always work like that. You know, obviously I'm gonna buy stuff and then sometimes eventually I have to take lists to get it out of my house. But that's one thing that I think that you really should strongly think about when you are part-time reselling is you can't, I can't, you might be able to, I don't know. With having a family and a kiddo, I just don't have the time to put up the amount that it takes to buy things that are a lower cost per item. So I need to generate $100 from 3 items versus $100 from 10. So when you're out there and you're figuring out what you're gonna sell, especially if you're gonna sell something, if you're gonna have kind of a specific thing that you wanna sell, toys or whatever, or you think you're gonna flip stuff from the Dollar Tree, I think that's very feasible if you can list a lot of items in a day. But if you're like me and you can't, really consider that when you're out shopping for things to resell. Is it worth your time? Are you gonna get enough profit off of it in the 3 or 4 items that you might be able to list today? So that's one of my number one things. My number two thing is to think about your storage space. So again, because I cannot list as much, I do not turn as much. And I'm listing items that are a little bit higher profit, which means they're a little bit higher price, which means my turn is not as fast. So I have really tried to focus, and I've learned this lesson the hard way, on not buying huge items. Unless I can make a lot of money off of a coat, I try really hard not to buy coats. I used to sell a lot of vintage coats, but you know, I might sell a $50 or $60 coat and maybe I paid $20 for it. I make it $30 or $40 of profit, but it's taking up a lot of space. So I've started to really try, if you've watched my videos, to see that I pick up a lot more jewelry, belts, scarves, smalls. If I pick up something large, I might sell it on eBay versus Etsy, because I need to get it out the door faster, because I don't have as much space to store since I'm not selling and turning as quickly. So, and turn, if you're not familiar with that, that's another thing that kind of goes along with the thinking about what you're going to buy. If I come from a retail background, so not everybody might know what turn is, but it's how fast your items sell, how fast you go through items. So if you're doing something replenishable and you just have to hit you just basically are doing the same thing over and over again, like on eBay or maybe Poshmark, that could go your turn could be very quick and it could be very easy. Or a lot of lower price items are probably going to have a higher turn. I don't think it's always necessarily true. You definitely want to do your research. But again, when you're part-time, you're going to be limited on what you can list. And that can affect your turn as well. So you got to have good storage space and you got to have good dollars per item. trying to think of other things that I think are really different when you part-time resell. You know, I think another thing that's really important that doesn't necessarily have to do with what you sell is consistency. And I think that's important whether you're full-time or whether you're part-time. But especially when you're part-time, to me, it's just like exercise or working out. You're only going to see results if you do it all the time. And if you work a full-time job when you come home at night, or, you know, if you're doing overnight shift and you're listing during the day, whenever you're doing whatever it is you're doing, you come home and you're tired and you don't want to do it. You kind of have to force yourself to do it, just like what you're doing if you worked at a mall. That's what I tell myself a lot of times. If I worked at a mall, I worked at a mall job, whether I wanted to go in at 5 o'clock after I got off at 4:30 or not, I would be committed to that shift and I would have to go in if I wanted to get paid. So when I come home, I have a set schedule where for 45 minutes, I try 45 minutes to an hour every night. I try to list stuff. And again, I might only get 4 or 5 items listed. Think about what you buy for your listing process as well. You know, I do a lot of clothing, and the downside to clothing is that, you know, I've got to take measurements on everything. And some people don't do measurements. I do measurements on everything just because I feel like that covers me in the event that somebody says something doesn't fit. Well, you know, I put the measurements on there. So that can help, you know, that can help in that case. But I also think if people are buying, especially vintage, and it's an expensive item, I mean, the least I could do is give you the measurements on the item. So think about that, and think about shipping. That's another, again, I think as a part-timer, I don't sell a lot of glass. And you probably heard me say that in my haul videos. You probably don't see me pick up a lot of glass unless it's for me, just because that stuff takes time to ship. Clothing, fold it up, stick it in a priority mail bag, and it goes out, whether it's Poshmark, eBay, Etsy, any one of those avenues. But glass, you've got to have a certain amount of supplies. You've got to have room to store those supplies. And a chunk of, again, if you're scheduling yourself an hour a night or 2 hours or whatever, if I'm packing up something that's glass or something that's large, that's taking a chunk of that time away. I don't have 7 or 8 hours a day to focus. So I really have to think about those things. So anyway, those are just some thoughts. Like I said, I wanted to share it. I see a lot of haul videos and a lot of full-time reseller videos on here, but there is a lot of benefit, I think, to reselling part-time. And if you've considered it, jump in and give it a try. But those are some of the things that I've learned over the time that I have done my reselling part-time. And hopefully those tips will help you when you're out looking for things to buy. And if you've discovered that as you've resold before, please share your stories or tips or advice down below for anybody who's just starting out and is doing this part-time. I've never wanted to do it full-time. A lot of people want to quit and do it full-time. That's not a dream of mine. I love it as extra money, and I love to use that extra money for vacations and trips and stuff like that. So, you know, hopefully this helped somebody out. I don't know. Anyway, if you like haul videos, and my child's got a big old bag of toys he's going to go through here in a couple days, and you like what you saw today, please give me a thumbs up. And I'm always looking for subscribers because I'm a new YouTube channel. So I would appreciate your subscription, and hit that bell to be notified anytime I put out a new video. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great one. See you next time.